anybody.
The only thing surprising is that Jim doesn't get enough of that D.
Gotta get the D. I'm deficient, baby. I need the D.
I don't know how I'm supposed to work that into an intro.
Don't.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. We're coming up on May. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, so get ready for that. Lots of big announcements. And now, broadcasting from the churn, that guy's Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Guys, we're almost there. This is the last week before we launch into the 2022 Mental Health Awareness Month of May. Super exciting, and for us at Pod Therapy, it is the most active month of the year for us.
So if you have not yet been aware of mental health this year,
to be aware.
Time to be aware.
Get aware.
Get those hands up in the air and raise the awareness. That's what we're here to do. So every year we do a bunch of stuff, and so you can get ahead of that now because we're already working on it by the time you hear this episode. So things to get excited about. We always release our NAMI design, so we always do a special Mental Health Awareness Month shirt.
How we coming on that?
I'm going to pass on that, and I'll
No,
do the AMA. How about that? How about I carry some load and you carry some load? How about we just split the load?
Okay,
today?
then how about you stop giving me shit about my load?
No, you're loaded.
I believe, who was it?
Your load is shitty.
You know what?
I don't know what to say.
I think
don't start going through the Discord.
No, I think Froyo nailed it. I think it was Froyo today who I saw this on Discord. Who really kind of called you out.
Okay, that's impossible.
And just called you out on the fact that you will be critical and harsh on everyone else's art.
Yes.
But you will not raise a finger to do anything of your own.
I will not contribute any of my own. I am an art critic, Nick. And we critics, we don't paint. We don't sculpt. We tell you why your piece is shitty. That's what we do.
That's not critic. That's a troll.
Okay. Well, I think if you get paid for it, you're a critic.
Are you getting paid?
I have not to this
troll.
Date. Well, you got to start somewhere, buddy. I like to consider it amateur. Okay? Doing it for the passion of the thing.
All right.
If you're hearing this and you're like, Discord, how do I chat with you guys on Discord? Patreon.com.
You're doing fine.
Yeah, you don't need to. Patreon.com/therapy. But May is such a big month, so you can go to Pod Therapy Bait Shop, and you can grab our special Mental Health Awareness Month 2022 shirt. We sell it all month
long. I gotta put that on my list of stuff to do.
Get it done. Or just change the number on the last one. You'll be fine. Just re-release that one. But buy the shirt because all proceeds get written over to NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, a very worthy program that hosts mental health support groups across the country and provides information. It is a great charity, and every year we do a big fundraiser for it, and that happens through our shirt. And if you're out there and you're like, oh man, I remember we had last year, people were like, I can't, get the shirt or whatever, but I'm just going to donate to NAMI. Just do it. Just donate to NAMI, NAMI.org. And if you can say, hey, this is on behalf of Pod Therapy, great. But, we don't care. Just give the money to charity. So definitely raising money this month. And also this month, we do our big live Reddit AMA, which many of you have found us throughout the years that we've been doing it. This will be our third go-round. And it's really exciting. Nick and I do not do any advertising whatsoever. We have no social media game. We are not out there trying to, chat it up into the interwebs and make a name for ourselves. We really just keep this project, within arm's reach. But Reddit has been a great place for us to do this big annual shout, and it gets a lot of attention. A lot of people enjoy supporting it and asking questions. We really start a big conversation all month long about mental health. And as of right now, that is scheduled to happen on Cinco de Mayo. So as you're listening to this episode in the regular feed, 1 week from this episode's release should be our big AMA, so you can check it out. You can go down to Reddit in the AMA section and find it, or jump onto any place that you have our social media, on our Twitter at PodTherapyGuys, on our Instagram at PodTherapyGuys, on our Facebook at PodTherapy. We will be posting to all of our social media outlets links to our AMA, and boy, do we need your support. And so if you're listeners of the show, get onto the Reddit, give us an up arrow, and just support it. Help us kind of elevate. The more support we get, the more widely seen it is, and the threads have always been really helpful. We also recruit every year an army of volunteers to help us with the thread, because every year that we have done it, we have absolutely gotten swamped. We never can answer all the well. We've actually always answered all the questions because we don't stop until every question is answered. But we easily get flooded.
Yeah, that goes late into the night.
It goes. It usually goes in the next day.
Yeah.
So it's a serious thing. We take off work to do it. We really try to make it happen. It's a big project. But if you're a supporter of the show and you want to be a part of this with us, boy, could we use your help. And you're thinking, well, what do I do, Jim? Do I log on as you guys? Do I answer questions? No, what we have people do is they go into the questions. And if somebody's asking a question that we have an episode for, go into our website, search for that episode, and then post the link to that person asking the question. Say, hey, man, this has been discussed. Here you go. Hopefully this helps with your problem. So that's a great way to help. But if you'd like to help us, patreon.com/therapy, that's going to be headquarters. And we're also going to be using our Discord to just rally our troops that day. All of you who support us every year in this project, we thank you so much. It honestly can't get done without you. And so it's a huge point of pride for me that every year we've done it. Knock on wood, I hope this happens again. We end up on the front page of Reddit. It always ends up to be a really big exposure for the show. And then we answer a lot of people's questions, and there are so many. And that's always very satisfying. But one of the things I'm most proud of is going through the thread and just seeing our little minions, with their posts all over the place. And I'll get to a question,
And they love being called minions.
They love being called minions. It's like, fly, little birds. Like they just swarm upon Reddit and they just start answering questions and supporting people. And I love it, not just because, people are getting help and not just because it's the one way that people discover our show. I love that people also discover the community through that. Like, that's when people later on, they'll write us letters and go, hey, we found you through the Reddit, and we were just so impressed that, like, there was an army of people trying to help us with our mental health. Like, just being kind and just very supportive. So check it out this month. It's going to be huge. Mental Health Awareness Month is upon us. You'll see us posting a lot of junk this month on our social media. We really appreciate the shares and the retweets and just getting content out there. We try to put as much out there in May as we can, just to make sure that we're making as much noise as we can, because this is the month. So this is our podcast. This is the month. This is when we try to do it. So thanks in advance to all of you. Check out the merch, podtherapybaitshop.com, and check out the AMA on Cinco de Mayo, and jump onto all of our social media. And if you want to support us and run with us, patreon.com/therapy. Or maybe you've been listening to the show for a long time and you're like, hell, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. All right, finally I'm going to become a Patreon and kick a little bit into the hat and make this kind of program possible. Man, we appreciate you doing that. Patreon.com/therapy. If you want to make this a month to support the show, we'd love to have you. Make the community even bigger.
Definitely.
It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, onward to questions. This week we got some doozies. I like this one. First one, dental and mental health from Megan. Dear Pod Therapy Guys, it's me, Megan Amber Smith, the non-animator who sent you chocolate and a comic. Oh, thank you.
I have that. I still have that comic. It's up on my desk, and I see it every once in a while, and it makes me laugh. So thank you.
Very good artistry, and the chocolate was amazing. Anyway, I have bad teeth. Cosmetically, they look perfectly fine, and I have a decent smile. But I've spent $20,000 on them in the past 15 years. Whenever I get bad news about a tooth, I instantly go into short-lived suicidal ideation. It's pretty much an instant spiral. Almost nothing will make me spiral easier or faster. I've already lost 3 teeth. And the idea of spending $2,000 to try to save a tooth and then lose it anyway makes me really want to end it. There is no danger in this threat, as I would not do that to my parents or pets. Logically, I know I'll find a new normal, as every time I lose a tooth I must do. Expense-wise, I will suffer and scrimp to afford my care every time, paying my bills over all luxuries. Emotionally, it's a whole other demon. It's expensive AF. I have also had many negative dentist experiences, from incompetence to rushing to apathy. I feel like fake teeth are a hot button for many patients. Can any of you talk about the role of teeth in mental health and what you would say to a patient who struggles with altering their smile/jawline/discomfort management when teeth are such a huge part of our career and social lives? Thanks, Amber.
So this is really interesting because when I was in graduate school, I was working on my master's in social work. and I had an idea for a dissertation where I was actually going to look at dental health and how that affects socioeconomic status
Oh, wow.
and employment and all these other factors.
Oh, as a precursor.
Wait,
like
look
what
at-
we notice.
Looking at
Yeah.
the dental health as it affects that, or how the other things affect the dental health?
Correlation, mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the idea being that, like, how does your smile affect your ability to get a job?
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
then does poor dental health lead you to less income?
Right.
And then obviously then you don't have the money to improve dental health.
Right.
And
Does it
then
become
is
a
it
spiral?
just exactly.
Yeah.
And I had this whole big proposal, and I was gonna, look into this, and I was gonna create, research design and all of this, how I was gonna really write,
then you got
write this
high.
project up. And then I got, and then then I was talking to the department head about this, and he's like, Nick, we don't have a dissertation requirement.
Oh. So you can do this, but
Yeah, he's like,
it's for free.
He's like, look, you're gonna graduate anyway.
You're fine.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't need you to do it.
You just want to do this for fun.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out, kiddo.
That's funny.
Pretty much. And I still kind of wanted to do it, but I never got around to it because it is just like, well,
It
I
would
got
be
all these other
interesting
things.
research.
But yeah, and it's probably not an original idea. I'm sure somebody out there has already done it.
Yeah.
But it does. It affects more aspects of your life, I think, than we realize.
And
or
I'll
we
tell
give
you,
credit.
boy, is it emotional. When,
yeah,
when
yeah.
you got a tooth problem, anytime I've ever had teeth issues, getting a wisdom tooth yanked out or a cavity drilled or whatever's going on, oh my God. I mean, that is a very intimate space, and it
Yeah.
is a very scary thing because it's one of those things. It's kind of like whenever I pulled my back muscle. I remember I pulled my lower back once, and then I came to learn how often you need your lower back in life.
Oh, yeah.
This thing I've just taken for granted. Every step, every stair, every time you shift position in a chair, every time you get in your car or out of your car, I just had come to realize every minute of the day how much I was using that one muscle.
Every time you breathe in, every
Yes.
time you breathe
Yeah,
out.
and I was just like, oh my
You stand
God.
up from a chair. If
Yeah.
you sit down in a chair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're just positioning it not on the floor. Even whenever you exhale, I remember but teeth are
If
like
something
that.
behind you startles you and you
Yeah.
spin around, you're in excruciating pain for the next day
Always
and a half.
in agony. So yeah, and that's how teeth are too. And I'll tell you, every time I've ever had something in my mouth to do, it is so emotional. And it's like, oh my God. And then afterward, you can't eat anything. And then you feel like very vulnerable and you can't talk a lot of time, can't even drink a lot of time. You're in real sensitive pain. And it's this head pain. You're like agony, you get migraines, like all of it's such a mess.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too, is just how it's going to affect you, how you eat.
Yes.
And then, like, how you eat is very connected to your mental health.
All of it.
Because if you're hungry, I mean, like what your appetite does and how that changes your attitude.
And it's the first
everything.
medication everybody
Yeah.
takes is their comfort food.
Yeah.
At least they have that. So you don't get that. So that immediately interrupts all of your coping mechanisms or the majority
Yeah.
of the first ones. Then you can't talk to people,
Yeah.
well. You don't feel comfortable. You don't feel confident. But that's the other thing too. What Amber's talking about. God, is dental health expensive. Everybody gives mental health shit. And I'm like, okay, bust a tooth. You want to see pricey? Bust a tooth. That was the joke that Ron White had. Remember that bit? Ron White, the comedian, had this whole bit about how he was coming to Vegas to do a show, and he fell, and he busted a tooth, and he had to go to an emergency dentist and get the tooth fixed, repaired, whatever it was. And the dentist was charging him $30,000 to repair that one tooth overnight. And Ron White was looking at him and he was like, how much is dental school?
Yeah.
We can't be that far off, right? How much would it be 2 teeth? Is 2 teeth dental school? Could I just, and he made a joke like he's going to get his mom and put her through dental school so she could fix his teeth on the road. But no, dental health is so expensive. And even when you have insurance, a lot of times the insurance is like, oh, well, we don't cover anything.
Yeah.
Because it's never necessary. And I'm using
Right.
air quotes. It's never necessary. It's like, what is necessary? You won't replace a tooth? And they're like, no, because that's not necessary. Not necessary. Yeah, you have 31 others. Go fuck yourself. And it's
Yeah.
like, God, this is so terrible. The whole system is so broken. I hate it. So dental stuff really affects you. And when you don't have it right, that's another thing too. the whack-a-mole of constantly having to address it. Because for a lot of people, they just have soft teeth, you know, and so they get cavities, or, you know, you didn't have good dental health as a kid, and now you have periodontitis. Is that what it's called? The thingy where you start, the tooth starts to wear away, you know, inside of the gum. And so there's so much to this. But no, I mean, what Amber's talking about, I think it's absolutely relatable. I think everybody gets that.
Yeah.
What was the line about being the fake teeth being a sore subject?
So it sounds
I
like
didn't understand what that meant.
I feel like teeth are a hot button for many patients.
Was it teeth or fake teeth?
It was
Yeah.
teeth. He said fake teeth.
Well,
but
and
the-
Amber
okay.
has fake teeth because Amber says, yeah, I've had to replace a bunch.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she'll say, like, I'm spending $2,000
That
to
makes more
save
sense.
one, and then it falls out anyway, and then I have to
I
replace
didn't
it with
understand
another
why fake teeth were especially a hot button issue, but that makes more sense.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I'm sure times have changed. I remember when my grandparents got fake teeth. That was like dentures, and then I remember like
Right.
the grandparent who had the best insurance or whatever he had, he got the ones where they actually installed the teeth. And I
Yeah.
remember those still had to be replaced because apparently nothing's as strong as enamel, and like those
Yeah.
also didn't survive.
I mean, that's come a long ways. And people like request that now. So I was talking to my dentist, this is like a year ago, and she told me that she had a woman in like her mid 20s come in
okay.
and request to replace all of her teeth with just fake teeth.
Oh, and they were
Because
healthy
she- 'cause
teeth.
she- yeah, because she just wanted
Oh.
a perfect smile.
Oh.
And she's like, replace them all with the fake teeth so that they look really white. They're just perfect.
oh wow.
And my dentist is like, there's no way in hell I'm going to do that.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you have healthy teeth.
I'm
We're not going to
doing it.
remove
This
that.
is still healthcare.
Yeah.
there is such a thing as cosmetic dentistry.
Yeah.
I won't do this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I get it though. But
Yeah.
veneers, I hear veneers are the way you should go if you want that. Because then do you know what veneers are?
Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
veneers are like
it's a
They're just
grill.
caps.
Right?
false
Grill.
caps.
Yeah, you
false
get the
caps.
grill.
Yeah, they go exactly.
Yeah.
They go over the front of the teeth and they create the perfect smile thing, but they're really just fastened to.
But you know,
your
I think
existing
that's
teeth.
another thing too that's probably driving a lot of this is just the fact that it's not something that like when we see models, it's not the first thing that we notice, but it's like one of those things that's almost like subliminal. Like
Yeah.
we see it and not realize it.
Well,
That,
yeah.
that the teeth, especially, you know, like airbrushed or whatever to make them
Right.
look really white. And we just always associate perfect teeth without really even noticing it.
And I'm so jealous because, like, as a kid, my teeth were just good enough that I didn't need braces. And, like, other members of the family, their teeth were very obvious. And it was like, hey, we need to go ahead and get this kid laced up really quick. So, like, that was happening. And, like, for me, it was like, oh, Jimmy's teeth look fine. Like, you know, they're not bad. But, like, the bottom row are not in alignment. The top row were fine-ish. And so, like, I got away with it. But, like, growing up, then you get to, like, those high school years and, like, your dating years and your 20s and stuff. And you're thinking, like, man, everybody else has, like, perfect smiles. And mine's not perfect. Mine was just good for an 8th grader. You know, like I was compared to all my buddies. I was like, oh, I'm the only kid that doesn't have, I'm king of the brace face, you know, clan. But like then you get into later life, everybody else has perfect teeth and I don't. And then I'm like insecure about it. And so like I totally get it. There was an advertisement once, one of the best ads I've ever seen in my life. It was for a dentistry place. And it had a picture of friends like holding hands, like standing there and they're all smiling for a camera. And one of the men is missing a tooth. And then underneath it, it says, your smile is so important, or your smile is the first thing that people notice. So much so, you didn't even see this guy doesn't have eyebrows. And so, like, then you look back up at the picture and the guy's missing a right eyebrow. Like, the left one's right there, and the right one's just shaved clean off. And it's like, oh, wow. And then, like, you notice all these other, like, things that they had built into the picture that just escaped your notice because you noticed the smile first. So there is a huge bias toward this.
Yeah.
So everything Amber's writing about, I just want to validate. Like, yes,
of
people
course.
have very complex feelings about their teeth. Very few of us, I think, is just walking around flashing the pearly whites everywhere they go. I think everybody's a little insecure about it. And then the fact that you actually have the health component, that it's not just how it looks, but it's the exorbitant amount of money. And it sounds like, Amber, you've almost developed a complex with this now. Because you mentioned, as soon as I find out anything about my teeth, my heart sinks And you use that word suicidal. You also pull back from it and say, "Don't worry, guys, I'm not in danger." But what I hear you saying in that is, look, this is so defeating, so discouraging, so expensive, frustrating that I have this thought all of a sudden of like, why? Like I'm just, and it's interesting because Bill Burr has joked about that kind of impulsive thought of suicide, where he's like, "Oh, I forgot to, take in the dry cleaning," and then he just like looks at a bridge and he's just like, "I mean, I could just get this over with," like whatever minor inconvenience is happening in life, he's like, suicide seems like an alternate route. So I get it. I get that that's an intrusive thought. I get that it happens. But, the thing about it, Amber, I mean, I'm glad you have us talking about it. I think a lot of people relate to it. I like that you're already a mental health, kind of advocate. You get help, you do things. I mean, I want to see you continuing to do that in this case. I don't think we have a lot of dental advice for you. I like that you already have some coping skills and some self-awareness that you're already using. I think that's key. But, I'm glad that you brought the question up because I think a lot of people, struggle with this.
And I think, I guess look at kind of your past history of how you've handled this. I mean, because it sounds like it's cyclical, right? So it's not constantly putting you at a state of depression, where it's like you have that immediate thought and then you kind of work through it and then you kind of get back to a baseline, it sounds like. And then something else happens and it kind of brings you back down. And then you kind of work yourself back up to that normal baseline. And just kind of that old saying that, you hear it a lot in the rooms, 12 steps, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of like, you kind of learn to ride the wave and you just kind of know your patterns and like, okay, this is going to happen. It's going to sink me down, but I don't have to do anything about it. Just ride the wave.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I will come back up. I will even out. I'll get to a place of happiness or at least what's the word I'm looking for?
Like equilibrium.
Equilibrium.
Serenity.
Yeah. I kind of get to that point where I'm kind of balanced again. I mean, the financial stuff, I don't know if I can really help you a whole lot with that.
Well, do I have a pyramid scheme for you? I can help you with this. You should be your own boss, Amber. It's really, let me show you. It's about time to stop working for the man. All right. I got some really great creams and some age-defying lotions that are really top secret. They come out of Hungary. No, but honestly, everything you're talking about, I mean, I appreciate the question. And toward the end of the question, you really just said, hey, can you guys discuss the role? And it does. It does play a huge role. I do think it affects mental health. Whenever Nick and I ran a program that targeted people who had co-occurring disorders. They had a severe mental illness or serious mental illness. They also had addiction, and they also had chronic homelessness. One of the things that made the biggest difference in their lives was when they started getting dental work.
Oh, yeah.
And for many of them, that was the first time.
Oh,
and we used to take them to the UNLV, the University Dental School, because the students needed to do work for free to earn hours and to have experience. And so they would do it charitably, and we had linked up our organization with them. And so they were treating a lot of our people. And then at the time, Medicaid covered dental work for a period of time. I think they'd cover it for like the first 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like no questions asked, everything's covered. And so every one of them was just getting so much work done. And it made a huge difference in
I
their
remember
lives.
when one of our clients came back after getting his new teeth.
Yeah.
And just a total shift.
Yeah.
Like his attitude, he was just happy, and he just was
It made
showing
a
them
big
off.
difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huge deal.
So, no, it's hard to decouple mental health and dental health. It really is. But I'm proud of you that you're hanging in there, Amber. I'm sorry that it's discouraging. I'm sorry that you've had a hard run of it. But I am proud of you that you're able to take that bigger picture, zoom out, as Nick said, reminding ourselves, no matter how discouraging in the moment, this too shall pass. I will find a way to deal with this. I will solve this in time. This is a setback. I am discouraged, but I will eventually move forward again, and life's bigger than this. So,
And I'm
great
sure
stuff.
you've already looked at dental insurance and everything. There are dental insurances that'll cover anything and everything, including cosmetic stuff. If you find one that you like, one thing that you can do is you can go to your employer and talk to them about adding that dental insurance onto your employment insurance. And it might not be something that they're willing to pay for, but it might be something that you can still pay for out of pocket to add that in. You'll get a lower rate because it's still on the corporate insurance side of everything.
Right.
And it won't cost your employer anymore. Or, I mean, it's possible.
Good
That's
point.
a great idea.
Especially if you know this is a chronic condition.
Yeah.
That's probably
Because if it
where
costs you
get it.
$1,000 a month,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money for dental insurance. But
Right.
it might save. I mean, $12,000 over the year might end up saving you some money.
Right, $8,000 less than 20 grand.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes, and you get to do it in payment installments instead of having to cut a
Right.
check. To
That's
the
a
dentist.
great idea.
That's very solid.
That's why we got him.
That's the dental advice.
Dental insurance talk.
Dental life insurance.
Life coach Jacob.
Life coach Jacob. His specialities only continue to grow. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about something pretty serious, and I will also be announcing a trigger warning beforehand, so I won't even preview it before the show or before the question.
All
A
right.
serious one.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Today's episode is brought to you by Judy Schneider, Mason Miller, Leon Kasab, Newstick, Dirty B, and Sarah Smith. If you'd like to sponsor the show, head on over to patreon.com/therapy and sign up to become a producer, and you get to hear your name at times like this.
Yeah.
This week's trivia
Times just
theme-
like this.
Worth
Like
it.
this, exactly. All right, we're doing things a little bit different. Today, we're doing a shootout.
Ooh.
All right. So how we're going to do this is there's a list. I give you the topic, and then whoever goes first, will name something on that list, and whoever's the first one to name something not on that list loses.
Oh, okay. So it's like
So-
categories?
Yes.
It's like you would say like breakfast cereal.
Oh, I see.
And
Yes.
then we just keep going back and
go
forth.
like Cocoa
until one of
Puffs
us fails.
Yeah.
Beatles album.
Is it all
whatever.
three of us? Are you in?
No.
Oh, okay. Because you have infinite knowledge of the category? Do you
Correct.
really have that much of an
Correct.
advantage just because you came with the category?
Yeah,
Okay, whatever.
I do. All right. So this week's, our first one is Major League Baseball's 500 home run
Oh,
club.
fuck me. I'm already out. Can I go second?
Sure.
Damn it.
So I'll pick a number between 1 and 5.
1.
2.
Okay, well, he wins. It was 3. All right,
Okay.
so Jacob, you want to go first or you want to defer?
I'll go first.
Okay. So
Whoever
whoever
punted and won on the first go.
whoever is first to name somebody who's not in the Major
They
League
lose.
Baseball 500.
All right.
Or if we don't have an answer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, this could be
All
very
right.
short.
So I'm going to start off with Barry Bonds.
Is that an answer?
Yes, he is.
He's the all-time
he's
leader.
The all-time leader.
Shit.
762 home runs.
All right. Mark McGuire.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Mark
got
McGuire's on the
one!
list.
I believe he is.
583.
Oh, all right.
Hammerin' Hank Aaron.
Second on the list, 755.
Sammy Sosa?
Sammy Sosa is on the list.
Oh my God! I'm still
609.
here. I am so much further than I thought I would be.
I think Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth, yeah, third on the list, 714.
Damn it! He's going. Deep
I'm just going
bench.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I knew he was on there. I was trying to go in order.
I mean, the most famous people I know: so Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire. Oh, there's that dude that has a son that also.
That dude who
played.
has a son.
Ah.
Nailed it. No, who is it?
Somebody junior. So.
Are you trying senior or junior? Which one are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say junior because I think he's the more famous one.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to say it's Sammy Davis Jr.
Is he on the list, Nick?
Is that it? Sammy Davis Jr. Final answer. Is that it? Wait, I was
The
kidding about final answer.
Candyman can. You mean the guy who's got a street in Las Vegas named after him?
Oh,
you think
shit.
that's
A member of the
guy?
Rat Pack?
That's the
Oh
guy.
wait, is he a singer?
You think?
Yes.
And also a home run hitter. Obviously.
Yeah, he's got the heavy bat. Who am I thinking of, man? Somebody junior.
You're thinking of
Yes.
Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, I want that one. Ken Griffey Jr.
All right, okay. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm going to allow it because I know he's got another one.
Oh shit, I'm not sure if I do.
Ken Griffey Jr. 630.
Is Mike Trout on there? I'm not sure if he is or not. I'm not saying Mike Trout yet.
Okay.
Man, there are a lot of cats running through my head
Dude,
right now.
I have nothing. I mean, Sammy Davis was my bench.
We've said
Dean Martin, final answer.
Yep, we've said McGuire and Sosa, so we gotten rid of those.
There's
guys.
one
Modern
big one that
dudes.
haven't gotten. Recent.
Recent.
Is there a recent guy we haven't gotten?
Well, relatively recent.
A-Rod.
A-Rod. That's who I was thinking.
Yeah.
Damn it.
696.
Yeah.
All right, I know.
So he's fourth. So you've named 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
A-Rod.
By the way, number 5 is still playing.
Yeah.
All right, I can only think of one other baseball player from my childhood, and I think he was good. Jose Canseco.
Okay, final answer?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think he had 500.
He's not in the top.
He was one of the Bash brothers with Mark McGuire
Okay.
in Oakland. Is Mike Trout number 5?
No, Mike Trout is not actually.
He hadn't made it to 500
He hadn't made
yet.
it to 500.
Okay.
Yet.
Wow.
No, number 5 is Albert Pujols.
Oh, sure.
Yep. And then you go Willie Mays,
Yep.
Ken Griffey Jr., Jim Thome, Sammy Sosa, Frank Robinson, then Mark McGuire, Harmon Killebrew.
Of course. All these people with their names.
All right, so Jacob takes the lead, 1-0.
Well,
right.
I, for one, am shocked that I hung in there as long as I did.
You did good.
We
right.
also gave you
I
Ken
got
Griffey
a free
Jr.
one. I got a
Yeah.
bump. All right, somebody just handed me one, but in my
You
defense,
said 2 letters and we gave it to you
yeah,
after having said Sammy Davis Jr.
which is, I think, the appropriate handicap. By
I think
the way,
that's fine.
Yeah, I think that is pretty much Jim handicap on
Yeah.
any given game. Is I know what he's trying to say with his tongues.
The next one though is therapy textbooks.
Yeah. I'll have a better shot at that one, hopefully. All right, so before I read this question, big trigger warning. This question is going to have to do with pedophilia. So
Oh, okay.
if this is something that you have experienced in life or something that is just a particular subject that you find really distasteful and hard, I want you to just go ahead and skip away.
Probably skip until you hear the ad music again. Yeah.
That's probably a great idea.
Yeah.
Just fast skip it because the ad music lasts long enough that you'd catch it through the skip. So feel free to skip
I'll
around.
make sure that the ad music lasts longer than 50 or at least 15 seconds.
There you go. That way you'll find it.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Sexually attracted to children from Anonymous. Hey guys, I'm looking for advice on how to approach a therapist with an issue I have. I'm attracted to children in a sexual manner. After having a depressive episode in January, including contemplating suicide, I reached out to my psychiatrist to get a therapy referral. They asked during the assessment what I was seeking a referral for. I said sexual attraction issues. I feel like this is vague enough to start the conversation, but I don't know what to do next. I've previously been in therapy, but I wasn't able to bring up the issue. We had 15 sessions last year, and I was happy with progress on my anxiety and my regular old depression, but this is obviously a deeper issue that I'm looking to dive into. How long should I wait? Probably not the first session, but I'm afraid I won't bring it up if it goes on too long. I'm also afraid that the moment I say it, they'll call the FBI or something. I know in the past you've said therapists only contact authorities when the patient or another person's life is in danger. I'm scared this will happen, even though I'm trying to get help for something that brings me such shame. For clarification, I would never touch a child, ever. I'm not exclusively attracted to children either, and I'm actually in a happy relationship. I've told my partner about my issues several years ago.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yep, we worked through it then, but I haven't told them that I've been struggling so much recently. I'm doing all right today, and I appreciate your consideration. Thanks. Living in shame, Anon E. Moose. So we'll call this person Moose for short.
All right.
Well, this is very brave of you to come out with this.
It is.
This is huge, and it sucks that you're living in shame. Because obviously you didn't choose this. This isn't something that you've made an active choice.
Right.
We don't choose what we're attracted to. But I think the greatest part of all of this is we do choose how we act on things.
Right.
And you have demonstrated amazing discipline to not act on this. You recognize it as a problem. You recognize that children can't consent. This is not appropriate. So you've not acted on it. That's amazing. And that you should be proud of.
It's huge.
So I'll start with that.
Yeah, and I agree. And, You know, this is an important point to take a second to teach the entire audience one of the principles we do on Pod Therapy. We are always on the writer's side. We're always on the writer's side. We always give the writer the benefit of the doubt and unlimited positive regard. And part of why we do that is A, because it's effective, and B, this is what therapy is like. And this is what would happen for Moose when Moose sits down and starts opening up about this. One of the postures a therapist takes with any patient who's sitting in the chair is to be on their side. We desperately want to understand what the person's going through, and we humanize them. We develop that empathy to understand their perspective.
Now, can I just say, I'm not doing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not being on their
Moose's
side to as a manipulative technique.
I don't
to
want to
get them
call
on
it
their side.
manipulative.
No,
it's a
no.
It's therapy.
It is.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, I'm 100% sincere. Like, this is good on you. That's great. You know, I mean, to recognize this and not act on it
Right.
is amazing.
Yeah, Nick's
That
saying he's
shows-
not doing it as a technique.
it's not a technique.
This
This is just me
how
saying
he's reacting to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
that's great.
Let me clarify now for Nick, because I'm not taking the position of you're being saccharine and artificial. I'm taking the position that there's a listener who thinks, why are you humanizing a pedo? Like, I'm angry about this, I'm triggered about this, and why are you not yelling about this? And I'm teaching that listener, the writer always has a safe place on Pod Therapy.
Sure.
And they're always treated from a human angle with respect. Even though we do respect, this is a very fragile issue.
And also, we in society say all the time, especially you get into more liberal policies and everything, we say all the time that you cannot be convicted of a thought crime.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And this is getting into things that make us all feel a little odd.
Yes.
But it's still a thought.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And Moose has confined it to being a thought.
I mean, I would treat this the same way as I'd treat somebody who has homicidal ideation.
Yeah.
You
Have you
can't-
killed someone?
Yeah, you can't.
Okay. Now we can talk.
Exactly. Yeah, you
right.
can't help those thoughts that come into your mind. You can help what you do about it, how
Right.
you respond to it, how you act on it. So if somebody is sitting in my office and they're having homicidal ideations, and they've been having homicidal ideations for 15 years, and they've never acted on it,
Right.
Right.
holy shit, that's a lot of discipline. That's
Right.
great.
It's
like,
doing the
okay,
right thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we should be building off
That's
of
a
that.
strong step right
Yeah,
there.
Yes.
exactly.
I'm curious why Moose didn't bring it up to the former therapist.
So let's talk about secrecy rules, because Moose
Oh,
implies
yeah, please.
about what the rules are, and this is a great chance to clarify it. So here's the deal pretty much in all states. Now, some states can have a slight variation of rules that they've written into law. It's rare that they're noticeable. These are usually the blanket rules.
And we're assuming that Moose is in the U.S., right?
We're assuming the U.S.
Yeah.
So here's the basic laws of the U.S. When you're talking to a therapist, and I sit down with somebody in the first day, I do this whole speech with them. I say, look, anything that we talk about is considered medical information. It's as private as a blood test. Which blood test these days, not as private as you'd think. If you'd like to hear all 3 of our blood work results, patreon.com/therapy. You can also hear about one of our prostate exams. Woo! And all the results. So maybe it's not as private as it used to be. But yeah, so when I meet with a new patient,
Jim's low on D.
I'm low on D. That's also, both of those were true. So going back to privacy, anything we talk about is private. I'm not allowed to share it. I cannot talk about you without you. There are a few exceptions to the rule, and none of them will surprise you. If you tell me that you're suicidal and I think that you are in danger to end your life tonight, I will take action to save you. If you tell me that you're homicidal, you borrowed a lawnmower from your neighbor 3 months ago, they never returned it. You say, Jim, I'm going over there with a hammer. I'm going to end this dude. No, you're not. I'm going to protect him. I'm going to protect you. I'm not going to let that happen. I would interfere with your plan. I would call for help. If you have children in your house and you tell me that you're neglecting or abusing those children, by law, I'm not allowed to ignore that. I'm a mandated reporter. I have to call for a wellness check. I have to make sure those kids are safe. And if you have an old person that lives with you or a disabled person that lives with you, somebody who's dependent on you, same problem. You're abusing them, neglecting them, starving them, failing to give them medicines. I would call for help to make sure they're safe.
But if I
That's
say
it.
I'm thinking about things that are illegal, but I have no intention of acting on them.
No, none of that. That is what therapy is for.
Okay.
that is why we have the privacy laws that protect you, Moose.
Because
so
if
that
there
it can
were
be a
no
safe
privacy
place.
laws, no one would go into therapy.
Nobody would do
Right.
it. And we've agreed as a society that we think mental health care is important, and we want people in Moose's position to feel safe getting help. Now, so that's the upside, Moose. The upside is we are not required to report anything unless somebody is being abused or neglected. Now, if you told a person, I'm actively assaulting children,
Different ball game.
it is a different ball game. Now, it gets they would probably try to take action to make sure the child was safe. But here's where the downside is, and I'm not going to lie to you. This issue it has so much more energy around it. I want to say the word stigma, but I think that we can all mutually respect that there are some special things that can happen in the world that truly frighten a lot of people. And the potential for children to be sexually harmed is very high on the list that everybody feels is repugnant and wrong, and calling it a stigma would be to downplay something that most of society finds very dangerous and very scary. So I say that to you, Moose, because I want to respect your fear, and I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, there's nothing to fear, Moose, just get in there and say it like it is. No, that would dishonor your truth, and that would be not true. The reality is, it's very possible that you may tell a therapist, hey, I have something really difficult I want to share with you. It's very hard for me to share with you, and I'll assure you that nothing bad has happened, but I'm going to tell you something difficult. There are therapists that, after hearing that, will say, thank you for telling me. They'll manage you correctly, but they may say, Moose, I think I'm going to need to refer you to a colleague on this particular case. And that's not the end of the world, Moose. If that happens, I don't want you to be like, oh my gosh, I'm such a monster. That's not the case. It's just that it's a very specific area of competency, and I think almost any therapist can work with you on it, but I would understand that some would say, I don't feel I can do this well with you because maybe I was the victim of abuse, and in this particular case, I don't know that I can be helpful.
Speak to Moose's, what I bet would be fear. On hearing that news,
So that
because he's just built.
I'm trying to prepare him.
Yeah. That's what I'm
happen.
asking you to do. Yeah. So he's just built up the confidence and the courage to tell this therapist this, and this therapist reacts with, "I got to send you to somebody else," and now you have to tell someone else.
Yeah.
You now have
With
to do
all
all
my
of this
heart,
again.
With all my heart, I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So if you may already be at the point where you've started therapy, or if you're still at the picking phase, I would encourage you to make sure you're picking a fully licensed therapist, because the more veteran they are, the better they're going to be at this. Interns and students may say, this is above my pay grade. I'm not, or they might say, I'm just frightened by this. I have a stigma of this.
Would you suggest that Moose get, because Moose, I believe, identifies as male, would you suggest that Moose get a male therapist? Or do you think that shouldn't come into it at all?
I don't want to push you toward a gender, especially because males are only 25% of the therapist population, so I don't want to pigeonhole you.
Great.
But I will say this.
I'm trying to ask any questions
that
might be popping into Moose's mind here.
Yeah.
So, Moose, in this case, I don't want to discourage you from talking about it. I'm just trying to do all I can as your friend to prepare you for what might happen. That way you're not shocked. Again, I think it's a very low percentage that the therapist says, I can't do this. That's very, very low.
And it's also, just to jump in on that, to piggyback off that, it may not be the therapist saying, I'm uncomfortable with this. It could be the therapist saying, oh, I know somebody who specializes in this.
Could just be, I'm not qualified.
Exactly.
I can't help you as much as this other person can.
So it may not be a stigma thing. It could just be, a specialization.
And on that point, Moose, believe it or not, and I'm sure you've never looked into this, there are therapists in your city that specialize in this.
Have to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is, I don't want to say this is so common that it's something a lot of us have dealt with, but a lot of us have dealt with this on one side of the street or the other, whether it's the person who has desire or whether it's the person who's recovering as a victim or whatever. It is a very common reality that many therapists have in some way been trained in. And every city that has a judicial system has a court for sex abuse and sex crimes. And there's going to be a referral network that court has a list of therapists in the community that have experience working with all sorts of sexual perpetrators. Now, you're not a perpetrator, okay? You haven't done anything, Moose.
Thought crime isn't a crime.
Thought crime's not a crime, but there are people that specialize in this in your community. And if you're thinking, well, how do I find them, Jim? You would call a court and you'd say, hey, can you refer me to sexual crimes division? And there's going to be a court coordinator in that division. And you're going to say, hi, I'm a member of the community. I'm doing research and I'm trying to get a referral list for providers and therapists that specialize in sexual crime and sexual issues.
And if you're concerned, I mean, use a fucking payphone.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're really concerned, if
get a burner if you're really nervous about it. I understand
all
the
that.
nerves.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other ways to do it too. Because I mean, just
You're
hearing
not going to get put on a watch list
I know,
for getting
I know.
a referral list.
No,
I know.
It's a
but,
legitimate
like,
form of health care.
Well, let me finish my sentence.
I was talking mostly to Jacob.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I was in his position, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, you might just want the
I'm not
extra
going to call the court.
security.
Like, I would probably go to like Psychology Today, try to find somebody that has that kind of specialization.
Good point. Yeah.
There's also
Start there.
I got to look it up real quick. There is I can look up what that specialization is. I know some people that have
Well, you
been
and I
certified in that.
Yeah, we have colleagues. If you go back to our first season, we had a colleague who worked with JSOs, juvenile sex offenders.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a very common thing to deal with sexual stuff. So yes, Nick's right. You can start with just Psychology Today, and you don't have to type anything into the search. You can go into the filters and just choose sexuality. There's not going to be one that talks about this particular issue, but you can at least start with people that specialize in sexuality. Okay, but again, I'm assuming that you already have your therapist, and maybe you don't have a lot of wiggle room, and that maybe you're ready to bring this up. So to your question of how do you bring this up. And then the last thing I'm going to offer you with my last thought is going to be some internet resources that you can go to that specifically answer this question. That literally there's pages on these resources that just say how to tell your therapist about this, what to do, how to get help. Okay, so there's a very large amount of resources. I'm definitely going to finish with that. But let's talk about how I would want you to bring this to me. And I've had people bring this to me. Let's say that out loud too, Moose. You know, again, I want to be careful with the use of the word normalize, but I definitely want to pluralize what you're going through. You're not this one human that thinks like this. And this actually, I'm so proud of you for being willing to get help, Moose. And for all the people listening, there could be people out there that needed your letter today, Moose, because they're hearing this and going, man, I feel this way, and I didn't know that you could get help. You absolutely can. I've had patients that have come to me and gotten help for this. The people that don't get help and that don't learn that this is a problem in their life, they become perpetrators. And we all want to live in a society where that doesn't happen. We all want to live in a society where people feel safe getting help and addressing what's going on inside of them so that nothing illegal happens and nobody is harmed. Okay? So anyway, I just want to praise you. But here's how you bring it up. In the past, I've had patients bring it up to me and they've said, I want to talk to you about something, Jim, that I'm very nervous about and very scared about. It's of a sexual nature. And I'll say, okay, thank you for prepping me. I'm here for you. I'm ready to receive this. It's going to be okay. And sometimes they'll say, Jim, can I ask you some questions about privacy rules? Can you clarify that for me? Okay, great. Before you open the bucket, if you need to hear me tell you anything about the rules, I will answer those questions. So if you have any hypotheticals that you want to ask about, you can ask about. You might want to say, if I tell you I've looked up certain things online or whatever, are you going to have to report me? Clarify the rules, okay? Go ahead and ask those questions. Your therapist will be happy to answer them. They will crystallize them. When you feel satisfied with the answers, that's whenever you come out with it. And you do it just like you did in this letter. You say, look, I have sexual attraction in multiple areas, but one area that I've struggled with is sexual attraction to children, just like you did in this letter. I have never acted on it. There are no children that I am targeting. I do not have any plans to do so. This is an inward struggle for me. It has been a constant source of shame and guilt. But I have struggled to bring this to you today. It's something I want to work on. It's something I don't want to be okay with. It's something I want to address. And I'd like your help in addressing it. Boom. That's it. That's it, Moose. And any therapist, again, I know I may have scared you, and I appreciate Jacob helping me realize that what I said could sound very scary.
Yeah.
That the therapist could quit on you. That is so unlikely. But I guess I just want to acknowledge it because it's a sensitive topic, and I'm not going to say it's not impossible. but super duper unlikely. This person's a professional. Okay.
Especially if you go to a long-standing professional like you already advised Moose to.
Yeah.
I mean, they've
If you
been
can
around.
avoid a rookie.
Yeah.
You know.
And I would bet that there is not or at the very least that there are very few practicing therapists out there who have not dealt with some kind of sexual something or another.
Right. One side of the issue or the other,
Yeah.
we have all dealt with something. Okay. And so it's happened.
Let me ask a question about reporting as well. If Moose didn't bring this up at all, but if the person says I am in possession of child pornography,
Yeah.
what and I know there's a movement to not call it child pornography
Because pornography implies consent.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I understand that. I
Illicit,
don't know
illicit
what the
pornographic material
Yes,
is. Children.
that.
Yeah.
So if they say, I'm in possession of illegal pornographic materials that contain
The law
children.
will vary state to state.
Okay.
So I feel I'm going to stop short of speaking to it because I know there's a lot of aspiring therapists
Great.
that listen to the show, and I don't want to be careful not to poorly advise. But this is why if you do have questions, Moose, you're allowed to ask beforehand. And, encourage the therapist to give you an I don't know if they have an I don't know. And you don't have to empty your bucket all at once, okay? You can just start with the headline. Here's the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for anybody out there who's hearing this, I did preface all of this by saying, hey, pod therapy always starts by humanizing the writer, and we always are on the writer's side because we want this show to reflect what real therapy looks like. You go into a therapist, you're talking to a friend, you're talking to an ally. We're here to help, okay? You don't have to be afraid of us. There are a lot of people that struggle with exactly what Moose is talking about. And it's a very difficult thing because they can't exactly come out of the shadows and start support groups. And though those do exist, by the way, but it's very hard for them to talk about it. Here's this letter with a guy who's already been to 15 hours of therapy.
Yeah.
And it hasn't come up. That's how deep the secret is. That's how scared people are to try to even address it. So I need to do a PSA here for the entire community of people that listen to the show. If you or somebody you know struggles with this, it is okay to get help. You are not alone. There are a plurality of people. And one of the things that we don't talk enough about is the cycle of abuse. There are many people who were abused as children sexually, and they struggle because later on in life, it's possible they can also share that sense of like attraction to children because they may have had sexual experiences or been hypersexualized as children or abused. So there are these things that can exist in the system.
And not just sexual abuse,
Not
right?
just sexual abuse
yeah.
either. But these things do exist, okay? And so you're not a monster, Moose. Is it illegal? Yes. And that's also something you're going to see on the websites I'm about to name off to you. Some of the things that those websites remind you of, and they say this loud and clear, and it's written by people that are feeling the way you feel for people like them, but things that they will remind you of. No child, listen to me carefully, Moose, no child ever wants sexual affection from you, ever. And that is part of the delusion that can sometimes happen with this fantasy or this attraction style. We can delusionally start to think that maybe some do. They don't. And any child who is ever incorporated into pornographic material is being exploited. It is illegal because it is impossible for them to consent. It is not harmless. It is not innocuous. It is, by every standard that we have as a society that gets to come together and vote on the rules, it is by every one of our standards not okay.
It is harmful.
It is harmful. Even if you think you're just passive, it is harmful. And you're going to have to tuck that away because one of the things you and your therapist are going to work on is keeping that strongly in our mind. In case that delusion ever creeps up, we have to remind ourselves, under no circumstance would a child ever want that affection or that attention or have any interest in it, no matter how old they are. We do not participate in that. We do not imagine that. We do not fantasize about that. So this is a very tricky issue. And I want to appreciate out loud for everybody how if we replace children with any other object of sexuality in this, or a individual or entity or group that has sexual fascination to it, you would be singing a very different tune. If I said, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I think my son is gay and I don't like that, we're religiously against that, can you help him change his sexuality so that he's no longer attracted to this? I would say, you're asking me to do an extremely dangerous thing. And I won't do it, first off. I just won't do conversion therapy. And it's illegal in most states. and I think federally now. But you can appreciate with me how sexuality is a very deeply ingrained psychology feature. And if you said, well, what is this person into? This person's into trans people. Okay. This person's into BDSM. Okay. This person's into whatever population. We would be really careful to be like, oh, well, don't shame that. Let's be really careful with that. We don't ask them to change that because we think that might do damage. This is the one demographic that we've all agreed as a society. And there are contingents of therapists that think I'm in the wrong on this. But the consensus, the overwhelming consensus, we have designated this particular population and said, we would rather do damage to you, the patient, by altering the sexual attraction you have than to allow this to be something that could ever be manifested. That's the one time we don't pick the patient. Every other time they come to us with sexual conflict, we usually try not to stifle their sexuality, but to allow them permission to explore it. And a therapist will allow you some exploration of that, but it is not uncommon that the therapist is going to say, okay, so this is a problem on the problem list, and we're going to try to change that. Where you wouldn't do that with any other sexual proclivity. Unless it was something like sexual assault or rape.
You're not talking about putting effort into changing what they're attracted to, more so developing coping skills to not act on what they're attracted to.
It's going to be both.
So,
I mean, stage one is protection, making sure this doesn't happen.
Right. Exactly. But that's acting on it.
That's
is
not
no
safe space
to it.
to explore this.
So that's not the argument I'm making.
Right. We're friends. Neither of us is attacking the other one. We're on the same team.
Okay, but I just want to...
Yeah.
The direction you were going made it sound like you were
That's why I'm
protection.
disclaiming
Okay.
we're friends. I'm not attacking you. What I'm trying to say is, like, if somebody comes to me and they have a rape fantasy and they're like, I can't stop thinking about this and I'm really scared I'm going to act on it. Okay, so my number one goal is to create the fencing necessary to ensure that that action never takes place.
Right.
So that's the coping mechanisms. That's the behavioral therapy that we're going to do. Over time, we're going to explore how to handle this sexual proclivity. And there's going to be media that you can use that entertains the fantasy in a consensual way. And perhaps there's a safe place for you to sandbox this proclivity without feeling like you have to get rid of it entirely. That will be on the options menu of things we'll be addressing. In this particular attraction, there is no options menu. There's a safe sandbox for you to live with this. There's not. And so not only are we going to try to barricade the actions, we're going to be doing a lot of deep dives on the actual desire. And we're probably going to be targeting how do we in any way influence that.
Yeah, but I guess my question though, and maybe this is going to go into a huge deep dive, but how do you change attractiveness? If I'm attracted to redheads, you can't just all of a sudden through a whole amount of therapy change what I'm attracted to.
Well,
you can change how you act on it. You can become familiar with identifying triggers, identifying early thoughts, disrupting those, changing the focus, all of that. But as far as just trying to change what you're attracted to, I'm not aware of any type of therapy that's actually going to be able to do that.
I have one thought on that.
That's kind of my...
And that is if this is stemming from some kind of trauma or traumatic experience in Moose's life, could exploring that then have an effect on the thought process now?
Yeah,
sure.
I'm phrasing that more as a statement. I need to be phrasing it as a question. So just pretend that I phrased that more as a question.
I think, well, it isn't always the case that trauma is going to link to this kind of desire.
Sure.
However, I'm not shocked if I discover that. So, and sometimes that's part of the development of this, is being sexualized at a young age, and therefore there's this imprinting of sexual flavor to them that's like something about that demographic. But Nick, you're right. Like, I don't know of any bibbidi-bobbidi-boo technique that extinguishes or alters the attraction kernel that's in the code.
So step one is making sure that it just doesn't
I do know that the therapist isn't going to limit their reach to just how do we make sure nothing happens? Because Moose can say on day one, nothing's ever happened. I've obviously gone this long without that happening. And I wouldn't want the therapist isn't going to be dismissive and be like, oh, okay, treatment plan complete. We did it. Obviously, this is causing you clinically significant amounts of distress.
Sure. You
feel in conflict and at war with yourself. We're going to explore it in a safe way, but I'm never going to affirm it. I'm never going to affirm it or encourage it or sandbox it for you like I might do with a rape fantasy or BDSM and say, hey, you're not there's a safe place for this. We have a
Right.
zone in society for this to live. You can find consensual partners to have consensual non-consent sex that exists. This can't exist. And so it's a special condition.
Yeah.
A couple of websites that I want to make sure I get out there for you, Moose, and for anybody that might be out there dealing with this or knows somebody. CSA, which stands for child sex abuse, CSAprimaryprevention.org is a really good website. CSAprimaryprevention.org. StopItNow.org is another one. Both very good websites. They tell you how to talk to a therapist about it. They have reading materials, support groups, videos, all sorts of resources. Both very good websites, and I would encourage you to look for that. And search it up in your safe browser mode. Do what you need to do to feel safe.
Oh yeah.
But there's no crime for getting help, and that's the thing. Law enforcement does not come after people for A, thought crimes, and B, trying to get help for a challenge.
And I
That's
guess
not what this is.
That's the piece that bothers me the most. I think I'm glad Jacob jumped in with that, with the idea of the thought crimes, because
Yes.
that's the thing that really bothers me. And I think that's part of the thing that bothers me too about, I'll go down this road, religion.
Okay.
Because a big part of religion is about punishing thought crimes.
Right.
And that's the thing that always has irritated me, is just this idea of like saying, well, something's wrong with you. You're evil. You're sinful. You're blah, 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 because you're having these thoughts.
Right.
And it's like, well, you can't control those thoughts. You can learn to catch them early and not feed them,
Right.
not allow that snowball to get bigger, but like, you can't control some of that stuff.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, good
and I think, and I don't like to demonize people for having
No.
thoughts. And that's the
No.
thing that the whole thought crime thing just really.
Well, I
on my
completely
nerves.
support you on that. I think the
Yeah.
reason I'm tiptoeing through the landmine field of the topic is because it is one of the things that there's literally TikToks all the time that it's become this casual thing now where like the new tough guy routine is to like make jokes about killing pedophiles and burying them in the desert. And that's the new like macho tough guy thing to say because you want to express homicidal ideation violence in a way that's socially acceptable. And now it's cool to kill pedos.
Right.
And like there's an entire like conspiracy theory that half of the Democratic Party is in on some kind of
right,
jacket.
yeah.
So it is a hot topic that is a minefield, and like that's why I'm tiptoeing through it. But you're absolutely right. When Moose talks about shame and guilt with this, his therapist is going to be very interested in trying to alleviate that.
Mhm.
That might be the majority of the clinical significant amount of distress, might just be that. And the therapist may, you're right, Nick, take a position of saying, there's no there. So we need to work on the shame and guilt to a place where we can practice self-acceptance and have radical acceptance of a thought that we choose not to act on.
Right. And I think that's the thing that also worries me.
Right.
Is because I was just talking 2 episodes ago about our inability to discuss nuance.
Right.
And how you could somebody could very easily take what we're saying and say there's no thought crime, and then go completely the opposite way with it and be like, oh, so you think this is all okay and there's nothing to
Right.
worry about.
Never said that.
Exactly. Not an argument that we're having.
This question in this episode also highlights fully for me why I have never taken pod therapy onto TikTok or done like little meme shit or like any of the nonsense that's like short form, even though that's how you get popular. That's how you get to quit your day job and be a fucking YouTuber all day and all this other bullshit that like Katie Morton and all these people do. That's how you get to do it. And like, this will never, I can't do it. Because
shit doesn't get solved in a sentence.
no.
Right.
And it blows my mind. Jim's going to rant about social media for 1 second. I really get pissy about all these therapists that like apparently have all the goddamn time in the world to sit on Instagram and like tell people about workshops that they're teaching and how you can be a part of it. And they don't seem to treat any patients. They never seem busy, but boy, do they consider themselves experts, and they have millions of followers. And like Katie Morton is like a household name in mental health YouTube. And she started when she was a student doing YouTube. I don't think that I'm surprised she got enough clinical hours to get her license. She was making so many videos all the time, talking as an expert intern about stuff she has no clue about, but now she's like the leading authority. She's basically the Dr. Drew of YouTube. And I get really resentful because this kind of long form, hour-long show where we can take the time. There's no cuts, no trying to get an ad break, no dumb shit in there. We take the time and we can sit here, all three of us, hear each other, correct nuance in each other's voices. You know, where even Jacob's like, hold on, that sounded like this to me. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being my mirror right here, right now, and let's get it right. I love that we do this long form.
Yeah,
and I
it's
think
still not long enough.
It's still not long enough. and I think that there's
Some
room.
would say it's too long.
There's room for like, today I'm going to teach you breathing techniques. Here we go. And you can get that done on a TikTok.
Sure.
But there's a lot of mental health shit that really tries to squeeze something that should be hard into something very small, very tidy, and inefficient. I'm proud of this podcast because I like that we do it this way. It'll never be the most popular thing in the world, but we do it fucking right.
So Moose, I think that the takeaway, find yourself as experienced a therapist as you can.
Yes.
I think that's really important. And do it. Do the work. And it's scary. I understand that it's certainly scary because you feel the shame of it and you feel as though something is wrong with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I understand that feeling that I believe that you're having there. But find that person and do the work, because the sooner you do the work, the sooner you can start to alleviate that feeling of shame and wrongness that it sounds like you're having.
Yeah. Don't forget those websites, buddy. Check those out. They could be really great resources. Good job, fellas. Big, tough, heavy question. We did it. We got through it. And for those of you returning from the trigger warning, everything's back to normal now. We're fine. We're taking a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about normalizing therapy. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Judy Schneider, Mason Miller, Leon Kassab, Newstick, Dirty B, and Sarah Smith. Would you like to sponsor a show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. Our second list, NASCAR drivers.
Oh, come on.
This is going to be even for both.
This is pretty even.
I don't think either of you are going to do well.
I feel like you made this whole thing just to shit on me because I don't have a chance. I didn't have a chance the
Neither
first
does
one.
he.
How many NASCAR races have you been to?
None.
All right, then we're even.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So this can be current.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Could be current. Could be past.
Okay.
Anytime.
All right.
All right. So you get to go first.
What am I naming?
NASCAR drivers.
Oh, that's it? They
Yeah.
don't have to be special?
No.
Dale Earnhardt.
Okay.
Great. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
God damn it!
Gamesmanship, baby.
Casey Kane.
Okay.
Is that one?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that person in my life.
My
Casey
wife's
Kane.
favorite driver.
Yeah,
All right.
it was Laura's too. I wonder why.
Jeff,
Maybe because he's attractive.
Oh, that might be it.
Yeah.
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 Jeff Gordon.
Okay.
Kyle Busch.
Yes.
Ooh.
Come on, there's an easy follow-up to Kyle Busch.
Shut up. Don't help him.
Bud Light.
Anheuser.
Yeah. Are they they're brothers, right?
Shit. That was my next one. I got nothing after this.
Kyle and I want to say Corey Bush, but I don't think that's right. Shit.
Is it spelling bee rules? Do I have to have one more to win it?
No.
Oh, it's
No.
shootout. Okay,
Yeah, it's
so I'm
shootout.
alive.
Yeah. Let's see. You already got Dale Earnhardt. Does Ricky Bobby count?
No.
I'll allow it. Give him Ricky Bobby. I feel
You're
good
gonna
about it. He gave me Sammy Davis.
All right, fine.
All right.
Sammy Davis Jr. and Ricky Bobby.
There we go.
Yeah. Danica Patrick.
Okay, yeah. She did a stint in
She
NASCAR.
did a stint with NASCAR. That's right.
Yeah.
I always think of her as IndyCar, but yeah, she was NASCAR. I mean, it doesn't matter that you gave me Ricky Bobby.
I knew.
either.
Yeah, that's why I didn't mind.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to volley this one
What's,
anyway.
What's John C. Reilly's character? Keep going.
Oh,
the
man.
Magic Man.
Now you
Shake
see
and
me.
bake.
Now you don't.
Cal Naughton Jr.
That's it. That's it. Not.
All right, I'll allow it.
Fine.
Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch. That was the other one.
Yeah, he was in my pocket.
I knew it was another K. I don't know. I'm out.
The last one I got is Tom Petty. This is like the Tom Petty experience?
He wasn't NASCAR.
Oh, okay.
No, Tom Petty was the musician.
No.
Do
you're
I keep
thinking-
naming musicians
Yes.
out of sports?
Yeah, you're thinking Richard Petty.
Yeah.
Ah, that guy. Yeah.
But he
And
was,
then-
but he was technically not NASCAR, right?
No, he was.
Was he?
Yeah,
Oh,
Richard
okay.
Petty. And then you're thinking the Andretti's. Andretti's were...
The Andretti's are
Mario
definitely
Andretti.
IndyCar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, Richard Petty and then Kyle Petty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know I can recognize other NASCAR driver names.
If you name them. So I saw this really interesting video, and it was training drivers to move at that speed. And like, cause I think it's the butt of a joke a lot of times. Like, oh, NASCAR, you're driving a car in circles or whatever. And I watched this video where they were showing how they train drivers to move at that speed and the amount of reflex and discipline they have to have physically to do this. And especially for how long it lasts, the concentration's unbelievable. And they're showing this guy who's just standing there with his hands out, like at about eye level. And they're throwing balls at him. And he's just like micro moving his hands to like catch, throw, like just as fast as he can. He's trying to like snatch these out of the air anywhere near his eyes. And it's just getting his hands perfectly coordinated with his vision so that he can make micro adjustments with that wheel.
Right.
It's a lot, man.
If you want to see something really cool, find the videos of their feet
Okay.
on road courses. Because there's 3 pedals, the clutch, the brake, and the gas.
Yeah.
There's only 2 feet.
Yeah.
And so there's like this heel toe technique
Right.
where you keep your toe on
wow.
the clutch and your heel on the brake.
Oh, geez.
And then as you're shifting, you're constantly moving. It's fascinating just
I'll
to
tell you,
watch them do all that.
Jeez.
I said that I would recognize other NASCAR drivers. I'm looking at the current top 10 list of NASCAR drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kurt and Kyle Busch are the only 2 names on the top 10 list right now that I recognize.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I went to the race here in Las Vegas back in September.
Yeah.
And same thing, it wasn't September, it was March. But yeah, I hardly know any of the drivers
Can
now.
you name one character from the Disney movie Cars?
No.
Uh,
Lightning McQueen.
Yay, that one counts.
I know that
Tow
because-
Mater.
Tow Mater, though he was not a driver. He just was
Shut up.
He's a tow truck.
You said character.
I did. You're right. Lightning McQueen was a good one, and Doc Hudson was a dirt racer and his mentor.
I've named I've named one of the 2 I could name, and Lightning McQueen was the other one.
Yep, you nailed it.
And I just know those from the Disneyland Cars Land.
Very solid. Normalizing therapy. Hey guys, I know this is kind of the point of the show, but what advice do you have for normalizing going to therapy? I'm super progressive and don't have a problem bringing up my progressive ideas in context at work, but I've never told any coworkers that I'm in therapy, even though I think it's amazing and I think that everyone should go if they're able to. I have a highly technical STEM career, and I'm valued for my expertise, but I don't want to seem weak by not having my shit together and going to therapy. Literally no one at my job besides one close friend has ever talked about mental health, unless you count hiking exercise helps my brain take a break, that kind of thing. For context, there are about 80 people in my company, and most of us are relatively close. I want more people to go to therapy and be comfortable talking about going to therapy so that more people feel comfortable going to therapy, but I wouldn't feel comfortable mentioning that I'm in therapy to most people at my company due to the stigma or whatever. Is this a catch-22 or just hypocrisy? I want this to be a case of my anxiety being dumb, but I think it's not unfounded, and I think this could change with the work environment. But do you have any advice for wanting to proselytize therapy, but being anxious about being judged for also being in therapy? Thanks. Tuberculosis. Pronouns are he and him.
Okay.
Tuberculosis.
Very solid name there,
All right.
TB. I'll bet you this person's initials are TB, and then people started calling him tuberculosis.
Thaddeus Bergman.
Yes, nailed it. There goes
Oh,
the
sorry.
anonymity.
I didn't mean to. I
Sorry,
didn't mean to just blow
Thad.
your cover there.
Thad.
Thaddeus.
Sorry,
Bergman.
Mr. Bergman.
That Bergman, sorry. I thought it was
Bergman.
Birdman.
No, Bergman.
Bergman.
Yeah.
Feels right. Good question.
Sorry, I
This
should have
kinda-
corrected you. I
Yeah,
just blew it again.
Blew it again.
This reminds me of a Head and Shoulders commercial.
Okay.
Bear with me.
I'm listening.
Yeah, you have 100% of my attention.
I'm very curious.
It's like when they're like, we're like,
You have dandruff?
no, I don't. Yeah, see,
You
'Cause
don't
I
have
use-
dandruff.
because I have Head and
Oh,
Shoulders.
I
like,
use Selsun Blue.
Yeah.
What? You don't have dandruff? I know.
exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like you're in therapy, but you have your shit together.
I know.
I know.
Oh, that's
You know?
solid, Nick. I
Thank
love
you.
it. That's a great ad campaign.
Thank you.
You just solved it. That's it.
There you go.
TB, that's the answer. You just bring it up casually. Say, oh, I
Head and
go to
shoulder
therapy.
style.
And they say, what? But your life is together. I know it is.
I think the
Mentos
best way,
better.
I think it's
pressure.
best not to proselytize therapy, but to just be open when it comes up, as opposed to trying to find ways to bring it up. If it comes up, to be open and just be like, yeah, I'm been doing it for years. Love it. It's very helpful for me, and just kind of normalize it that way, in the sense that, like, it's normal that I don't have to bring things up.
Right.
If it comes up, I just talk about it.
Right.
That's how I would approach it, but I don't know if that's the right way.
I think I like that too.
That's about how I'd go with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't like go get a sandwich board and run around and tell everybody about it. So I don't think you have to be kind of external about it, because honestly, one way you could is you could share the podcast. Honestly, I'm not just trying to get plugs for the podcast. A lot of times this podcast is how people share about mental health. Is they say, oh, you ever listen to podcasts, man? Oh yeah, I listened to this one and that one. Oh, that's cool. What are you listening to? I like this one called Pod Therapy. It's like a mental health podcast, like, destigmatizing and stuff like that. Really good advice. A couple of therapists. Oh, cool. There you go. That you're destigmatizing therapy right there, and then we'll do the heavy lifting. The person will tune in. They'll hear us always gabbing about why they should go get help. But I think if you feel comfortable outing yourself about therapy, then I'm great with it. But to the point of your discomfort. I don't want you to feel like you're doing something wrong by not getting out there and spreading the gospel of mental health. If you feel convicted and you feel like, gosh, I want to be more out about this, but I feel, nervous because this is my career and my coworkers and we're very close. And once they know this very intimate thing about me, I can't squeeze that back into the bottle. And once my truth's out there, I have no control over how it's interpreted or how it's spun. Well, then there you go, TB. You might not want to broadcast that because you have legitimate concerns and reasons. And the fact that there is a stigma about mental health, while we're all trying to defeat that, this doesn't fall on you to therefore go sacrifice yourself and martyr yourself in the stigma waves. Like, the stigma exists. It's our job to help people, convince them that it doesn't need to and they're thinking about it wrong. But you could potentially be the victim of stigma. And I don't want you to feel like you have to, carry the old rugged cross up that hill and do it yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to. But I think if you're comfortable bringing it up, you can, in that very casual way of just whenever you chit-chat with people and they're like, oh, how was your week? There you go. There's your in. Great week. Took my kid to a ball game. Talked to my shrink, which is always really nice. You could use playful language like that. And they're like, oh, did you see a therapist? Like, yep, got to keep the demons at bay, or whatever. You could start with the little jocular kind of humor about it. Like, yeah, got to get my head shrunk. And
it's one of those things that I always think that people, that in your mind, people are going to care more about it than they really are.
Yeah.
Like if somebody says to me, oh, yeah, I saw my shrink last night, and just kind of rattling off the things they did the night before, I might not even going to mention that.
Right. Great. You're just sharing with me about life.
Yeah.
I don't
and you got pizza. I'm more interested in what kind of pizza.
What were the toppings on the pizza? Also, trauma abuse? Like, what kind of, they're not going to ask. So just, if you feel comfortable just dropping it out there, there's playful ways to do it. Hopefully the way we talk about it on the show helps you kind of understand playful ways that you can throw it out there if it's something you want to do. And you could also always go to HR. And if you want this to be something that you don't have to carry the burden of, but you want coworkers to hear about therapy, you could go to HR and say, hey, Mental Health Month is coming up here in May. I would really like to see our company do something for that. Sponsor something, or I'd love it if you guys could put out some information just reminding us about benefits or how to get help. I care about our coworkers, and I really want to see mental health be something that they're encouraged to do. Boom. HR lives for that kind of stuff. Oh, thank you. They'll take that and say, hey, we've had employee requests to roll out more information about this.
Yep.
That's anonymous, and boom, all 80 of you just got an email. And then that could be that might turn into lunchroom talk where they're like, oh, hey man, you get that email? Yeah, apparently we have EAP benefits and you can find a therapist. Oh yeah. Yeah, I found one through that. It's really easy.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then we're really not hitting the obvious one.
Okay.
The obvious one is to buy a mental health awareness T-shirt.
Oh, there it
from the
was.
Pod Therapy store.
Thank you, Nick.
And just wear it around the office.
The clear winner is podtherapybaitshop.com. Get your May Mental Health Month awareness shirt. We will donate your money to the National Alliance on Mental Illness so we can help some people. And you'll get to walk around with your awesome swag that tells people not only do you have great taste in merch, but you like mental health and you listen to a podcast that celebrates it. and you encourage them to get help.
Mhm.
But thanks for that, TB. I hope that works out for you, and thank you for being an advocate. And if you haven't already gone to patreon.com/therapy,
and get a
you
chest
should.
X-ray.
Yeah, what? Oh, the tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis.
Yeah.
There it
Good.
is. Yeah.
Take care of yourself, Thaddeus.
Yeah. Make sure Thaddeus. What was it? Thaddeus
Bergman.
Bergman.
Yeah.
There it is. And tuberculosis, come down to patreon.com/therapy and support our show, and we'll do all the mental health support and advocacy for you, and you can be a part of it and making it happen. Speaking of which,
Jimmy Johnson.
Ah!
Wait, that's a
All right.
football coach.
Your turn.
No, fuck that.
No, he was already like 2 ahead
I
of me
ran
anyway.
laps on this dude.
Yeah.
I thought that was a football coach.
He is.
Yeah, he is.
And he drove NASCAR?
There was also a Jimmy
Two
Johnson
different
in
guys.
NASCAR.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the Jimmy Johnson that has sausages, isn't it?
No, that's
Jimmy
Jimmy
Dean.
Dean.
That's Jimmy Dean.
We have new TheraPals.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah. Man, that it took my brain way too long to go, hey, dude, he's in the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
New TheraPals, welcome Cody, I drive a DeLorean Charrington. And he really does drive a DeLorean. He's
Yeah.
the one that sent in all the DeLorean questions.
Great.
Yes.
He did support the show. He does support the show. He also joined the Discord and immediately posted pictures of his sweet-ass DeLorean.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Oh,
I
nice.
asked him what it would take to get him to put a Pod Therapy wrap on the DeLorean. He said, what's our budget? I said, less than you think. He said, oh, because less than I think means I'd be paying you. And I said, I accept.
Oh, no. You'd
So
have
we've negotiated the
you'd have to
offer.
pay for it.
No. He will be paying for it. It's been agreed upon in writing. And also, welcome to another new TheraPal. I'm going to say it's Jamie B. That's how I want to pronounce that. Jamie B. Or Jimmy B.
And we got a new Therapod, Aisling Cartwright.
Cool. Welcome, Aisling. And we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, those Thera producers. Thank you, Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie, Jr. Mint, Kayla Lansbury, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, King of Student Loan Debt, Dr. Ben Don, Crazy Banana Scoop, Mason Miller, Carolyn Albert, Leon Kassab, Kevin Chamberlain, Malia, Richard Macy, Cindy Ash, Newstick, Lord Colin Stewart, Dirty B, Ben Stanley, Sammy Scoop, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Dan Martin, Byler T, and University Jeff.
If you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
Jim needs more D.
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
Apparently I need 2,000 units of D daily. That is a lot of D.
It's a good drop.
That's all the time that we've got for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords, Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. And thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it by opening the episode's description in your podcast app, and you can copy and paste that link we provided into your social media. Don't forget, you can find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter at PodTherapyGuys, at Instagram at PodTherapyGuys, and at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Of course you do. Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Jim Jobin.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Bing.
And neither of you guessed Dick Trickle.
Who?
Oh, yeah.
Dick Trickle?
Dick Trickle.
That's a porn name.
He was a NASCAR driver.
And a porn star.
Same guy.
Yeah. I mean, if there's one kind of career you could probably moonlight in porn, I think you